Hey everyone, welcome to another thing where I complain about a fan favorite episode. Yay! This time it's Dino Thunder Back in Black, like the AC/DC song. I like the AC/DC song a lot more than this episode, so whatever, I'll get right into the summary. Haley finds an invisiportal and the Rangers do a badass slow-mo walk that reminds me of that similar slow-mo walk from the 2017 movie. Except in that 2017 movie they had some cool music to accompany the slow-mo walk. Here they have Haley spouting a bunch of techno-babble word salad over it. Just as cool, right? Anyway, long story short, the Rangers need to build up speed before breaching Mesagog's firewall or whatever. So the Rangers, yeah, Haley reveals to them their new Raptor cycles. Raptor cycles, wow. So, barely one episode later, the Raptor Riders completely obsolete. They don't even get to have a unique name. Raptor Riders, screw you, here's the Raptor cycles. Bandai's gotta make their toy money, I guess. So anyway, I guess the Raptor Riders will show up if there's Japanese footage available or whatever. Haley keeps going with more techno garbage, but eventually she gets to the point and exposits to the Rangers that the Invisiportal will take them directly to Mesagog's island fortress. So that's cool, we finally have a name for Mesagog's base, I don't have to just keep calling it Mesagog's base. Connor's nervous, and Ethan thinks it's because he can't swim, and this is set up like it's going to be a thing, but it's not a thing in this episode, which isn't all bad. That's actually kind of cool to foreshadow something like that could potentially become a part of his character, something that he'll have to deal with later on in the series, or the writers can just completely forget about it. I don't know. I haven't watched Dino Thunder in a long time, so I don't remember if this is a plot point that ever actually comes back. Mesagog still has Tommy held captive. Elsa's there. Tommy sees her. He doesn't realize she's the principal either. Like, I'm not good with faces, but do seriously all the Rangers have face blindness or something? It's so weird. I don't know why. Why was this why did they make her the principal anyway? Like, so far she's done more as Elsa than as the principal. And it's not ever been a plot point either. Like, there's never a thing where she has to leave the school to go be a bad guy. That might actually have been, like, a cool, like, story point, and something that would have called back to Mighty Morphin, how the Rangers would have to duck out of school to go be superheroes. Well, here we have the reverse happening, where a bad guy has to leave school to go be a bad guy. That'd actually be kind of a cool idea. Uh, Fanfiction idea, I guess. So whatever. Mesagog sends his minions out to hold off the Rangers. Using their cycle's weaponry, they blast their way through. They get into the base, Mesagog goes to confront them, and he almost is about to attack them when an invisible portal opens, his idiot henchmen fall right down in front of him, which... huh. I remember hearing people talk about Dino Thunder, and they would talk about how they liked Dino Thunder because it had a more serious tone. Okay. Then this slapstick stuff happens, and I'm really wondering what show were we watching? Because I wasn't watching the same show they were, if they think that Dino Thunder had a serious tone, and there's this constant, like, slapstick stuff going on, there's a lot of weird humor that I don't get, and this scene in particular, like, it's weird because it's not played off like it's supposed to be funny, but it kind of is. It's a slapstick moment. It's like something, I don't know, I could see Rocksteady and Bebop doing this, like, Krang and Shredder have the turtles cornered, and then suddenly Bebop and Rocksteady fall down in front of them, or fall on top of them, and so the turtles have a chance to get away. In fact, I think that exact scene has happened in some Ninja Turtles cartoon, at least once. Anyway, back to the summary. Oh, and also, I know I say anyway a lot, sorry about that, I am working on trying to fix that, but yeah. Back to the thing. The Rangers free Dr. O and fight through the bad guys. Dr. O stays behind to get that stone from Mesagog. Once he gets the stone, him and the Rangers escape. The villains follow them and they fire a blast at Dr. O. He holds up the stone to block the blast. The stone shatters and he disappears. And then suddenly he reappears. Wow, that tension sure lasted a long time. I know when it originally aired, and I think I might have seen this episode back when it aired. I don't remember for sure. Because after Ninja Storm, I kind of dropped out of Power Rangers for a while. I remember really well watching the White Ranger episodes of Dino Thunder. This episode, though, I'm not sure if I saw it initially or not, but anyway, the point of this is, and I just said anyway, again, sorry, whatever. The point I was trying to make was that originally, when this aired, there was a commercial break. He disappears, the Rangers are like, whoa, no, he disappeared! And then commercial break, then the commercial break ends, then he reappears. So there was a little bit more of a hold on tension back then when it originally aired. However, watching it on DVD, it just comes off as kind of weird. Back to the thing. The stone that Tommy used to block the blast has become a Dino gem, and with it comes the power of invisibility, because whatever. So, oh, and also, Tommy happens to have a Dino Thunder morpher on for some reason. Weird. He fuses the Dino Gem with it and morphs into the Black Dino Thunder Ranger. A new battle breaks out, the Rangers destroy the latest monster, Mesagog revives it, and Haley sends a new Zord, the Brachiozord. It's Tommy's Zord. What a coinky-dink, or at least I would say that, but she does actually give, like, a good theory on why it's here. Activating the Black Dino Gem activated the Zord that is associated with it. Okay, cool. That makes perfect sense. I don't have a problem with that at all. What I do have a problem is the far more out of place Zord, the Cephalozord, pops out the back of the Brachiozord. Yeah, it's a little. Oh crap! What are those things called with the domed heads, like headbutt things? Or at least in Land Before Time they did. It has little boxing gloves on. Okay. Anyway, that thing combines with the Megazord, and with it, they're able to defeat the monster. Tommy's Zord does nothing. All it does is carry the other Zords. Tommy's Zord is Titanus, except, like, if Titanus did less than it ever did, and couldn't fight. This is really weird. The Brachiozord, all it does is carry the other Zords into battle. It doesn't, like, fight at all on its own. It can't really seem to do anything on its own. And it's weird, because the other Zords, they were there before. They just kind of showed up. Why did they need a carrier Zord? I don't know, whatever. So yeah, Tommy's Zord, kind of pointless. The Cephalozord comes right the frick out of nowhere. I guess it just happened to be, like, with the Brachiozord, and when the Brachiozord woke up, it passed by the other Zords and was like, oh, hey, you guys need a ride? And they're like, oh, okay, sure. Actually, in Abba Ranger, I could totally see that happening, because the Zords could talk, they were alive. Here, though, I don't know what's going on with the Zords, they're just weird. So anyway, they defeat the monster, then they're hanging out at Haley's cyberspace, and Tommy explains why he happened to have a Dino Thunder morpher ready. He had detected an energy that could have been a Dino Gem, so he had Haley build it for him. And he was actually going to tell the Rangers, but then he got kidnapped. Okay, I guess. I guess that makes sense. Whatever. Then Tommy says, I have to leave now, and they're like, well, why? And he's like, my closet has a serious lack of black in it. And then everyone laughs like it's the funniest frickin' thing ever. And then it fades out the end. And this episode is really close to being one that I like. And there's a lot here that I think could work if it was just tweaked slightly. There's a lot of really little things that I have issues with here. First, dump all of Haley's technobabble. It's meaningless. It never amounts to anything in this episode. It's just there to be noise. It's like some executive or something was watching the beginning, and maybe that slow-mo walk that was really cool. Maybe originally they did have some cool music there, but then some stupid executive was like, no, it's too quiet. We need to have constant people talking. Have Haley say stuff while they're doing that, and then when they're looking at the motorcycles, have Haley keep talking. And then keep talking, and so they had to write in stuff that would be meaningless, like, by default. Or just cut Haley out altogether. We don't need her. I don't like Haley. She has yet to, like, do anything that makes me like her in the least. Secondly, don't use the Raptor cycles. Keep using the Raptor riders. The motorcycles can wait till later in the season. Like, at least get some usage out of the Raptor riders. Like, supposedly they're living things. You might be able to get some, like, personality out of them. It might be kind of fun to have dinosaurs to ride into battle, but I guess not. It's more fun to do with the motorcycles, would be. Third, vary up the fights. The battles in this episode are really well done. They're really creative, but they're really repetitive because it's pretty much the same thing over and over again. The three Rangers confront a bunch of bad guys, they fight, then they leave, then they confront, they fight, they leave. And I think it would have been a little better if the Rangers had split up, one taking on the bad guys outside, another goes into Mesogog's fortress, and another one goes on to rescue Tommy. I think that would have helped spread things out a bit, maybe pace things a little better and not have the fights come off so repetitive. Next up, Tommy's Zord. Since it doesn't do anything, you can just cut it out entirely, and how about make the Cephalozord his Zord? Have the Brachiozord come later. Or, here's an idea, maybe, like, I can't remember if the Brachiozord ever does actually join in the fight, but maybe use footage from that episode. Then again, I'm guessing they didn't have all the footage, like they didn't know where exactly the season was going, because I have heard behind the scenes that there was a lot of confusion about like rangers in the future of the season, that they weren't sure who was going to be a ranger or what color rangers would join the team or something. So I don't know. Use a Cephalozord, make that Tommy's Zord, and then the Brachiozord, just, I don't know, keep it as the Carrier Zord or whatever. I don't know, screw it, I don't care. Also, the monster is weird. The monster of this episode, I don't even know what its name is. It doesn't do anything. It has octopus tentacles, and then the Rangers are about to blast it, and it says, "Don't be a pollinator hater," and that's all I remember about it. It doesn't have a name. They never show it being made. It's just there. I think it probably could have helped a little bit if they had at least shown Mesogog making the monster or something. Connor expressing nervousness about water sets up an insecurity that goes unresolved here, giving him a potential obstacle in the future. It's even introduced in a way to make it seem like it's something that he'll have to overcome in this episode, but it isn't. It's a bit of a fake out there, and that's pretty cool. I like that part. I honestly don't know if it ever comes back or not. The Invisiportals finally make a significant contribution to an episode, but I don't think they're necessary. I think they should have instead of Invisiportals, bring back MMPR's teleportation. That would make a lot more sense, especially considering Tommy's here and he's a Mighty Morphin Ranger. And also, the Invisiportals don't get any explanation. They're just this weird thing here. I can't remember if they were a thing in Abba Ranger. Like, maybe? I don't know. I don't think it was, like, significant. Like, definitely not like the Invisiportals are over here, where they, like... This episode especially, they talked about them a lot, and they still didn't really explain what they were, or why they exist, or how they work, what they are, or anything. What are these things? Why do they exist? How is Haley able to, like, control them? Are they all her? Or are they, like, a naturally occurring thing? I don't know. Then the other thing, and the thing that kind of irritated me in this episode, and this is, like, such a simple thing, like, and I don't know if people would say, it's just fan service, but Tommy's in this season, so I think this is kind of a relevant thing. Tommy's Morpher. Even with the explanation that Haley made it for him and he was specifically looking for a Dino Gem to use it with, I think that still comes off a bit too convenient of an excuse for why he happens to have it here. I think a better execution of it would be to drop Haley making the Morpher altogether, and also maybe drop Tommy looking for the Dino Gem specifically, just have, when he was going to meet with the Rangers, he was just going to meet with the Rangers, like that original, like, story's intent was. Did the writers forget? Or did they think this, like, expanded on, like, the context or something? Because, I don't know, it just feels like they tacked this on just because. Anyway, I think Tommy shouldn't have had the Dino Thunder Morpher, he should have been wearing his Zeonizer. That would have actually been, like, a cool thing for the older fans. I mean, you have Tommy here. why wouldn't you want to acknowledge that you have this old ranger here? Isn't that kind of like the big thing of the last episode was the fact that like Tommy's a veteran ranger. He has knowledge of all these past teams. He's been involved with all these past teams. What if he still had his Zeonizer? And I know that they also went out of their way to like pretend that it doesn't work for whatever reason, but I was thinking, you know what if like here's the idea I had was like the scene plays out pretty normally. Tommy holds up his wrist, you see the Zeonizer instead of the Dino Thunder Morpher. He takes the gem, he fuses the gem with the Zeonizer, and it becomes the Dino Thunder Morpher. That happens anyway. He holds up the thing, he puts the Dino Gem, it fuses with the Morpher and changes it slightly. So there wouldn't have been any difference if they had just put the Zeonizer there. And then at the end, when the Rangers ask him about why he had the Morpher, instead of just, oh, Haley did it, that's not really satisfying. It doesn't really fit Tommy. It doesn't mean anything. And it very easily could have been more meaningful if he had the Zeonizer. When the Rangers ask him about why he still had his old Morpher despite it not working, according to last episode, because, like, last episode established that continuity doesn't matter, the Zeonizer all of a sudden doesn't work, so forget about Forever Red, forget about Zeo and Turbo, none of that matters, the Morpher doesn't work, it's inactive. For whatever reason. I don't know why, they don't explain fully ever what exactly happened, so just, in the context of this show, he has the Zeonizer, and when the Rangers ask him why he had it, he tells them, like, maybe there's a scene, he looks off wistfully, and he's like, I know it doesn't work, but I just wanted to have it with me in case it was ever important. Something told me that someday it might be important again. Kind of similar to Adam back in Always a Chance, when, let's see, Adam is with Alpha 6 and Carlos, and Carlos gets frustrated and he leaves, and Adam's talking things over with Alpha 6, and he pulls out his Morpher and says, "Do you think this still works?" And Alpha says, "You can't use that Morpher, the power coin was damaged." And Adam's like, "Don't worry, Alpha, it was just a thought." But then you see this quick little shot of like Adam's face, and you know that he's still willing to try it if he needs to. And later on, when Carlos is in danger and he doesn't have his Morpher with him, Adam's like, "Okay, this is my only chance." And he uses the Morpher, he morphs, it can't hold, it's unstable, but he is able to morph just long enough to save Carlos, and it's a really cool moment. And I think something like that would be a good explanation for why Tommy would have his Zeonizer here. And then when he fuses the Dino Gem with it, it means more because it was like something with actual importance and connection to the past, and it fit his character. With him having the Dino Thunder Morpher just for no reason, like it makes sense in this story, but it's not really meaningful or anything. It's serviceable. And it so easily could have been more. That's what frustrates me about Dino Thunder and seasons like it, where it's so easy to just give a tiny bit of, like, relevance and weight to things, and they just don't. And also, after I talked about all that garbage, here's some other thing that I don't think is quite as important, or I don't think anybody really cares about what I think, so whatever. Moving on to the next point. This episode also has one of those weird little clues in Ninja Storm and Dino Thunder. I've noticed little bits and pieces of things that feel like they were part of a bigger story or part of some kind of different story earlier on in production. In Dino Thunder, I'm thoroughly convinced that originally Dino Thunder was intended to take place way far in the future, like maybe around now or something, like around the 2020s. Tommy's an old man. Like, that's a weird running thing, as everyone treats Tommy like he's way older than he is. He's only like 30. Like, not even like mid to late 30s, like early 30s, even in the timeline of the show. Like, he graduated back in Turbo, and this is only like 7 years later. Or 8 to 10 if you want to mess with the timeline a little bit. But even then, like, he's not that old. But the way they talk about him, it's like he's Master Fant in Jungle Fury or something. Also, that guy was able to morph and fight off bad guys, and he did just fine. Anyway, back to Tommy. Uh, so I think the original idea for this was to have Tommy be a really old person in the future, kind of similar to Bruce Wayne in Batman Beyond, where like he's the older mentor to a new superhero who he's mentoring and being a teacher to. This time, literally, he's a teacher. Uh, but this season also was produced at a time when like Disney's teen sitcoms, tween sitcoms, whatever, were super popular. Like I remember watching Dino Thunder on ABC Kids, and it'd be like sandwiched between like they'd have Kim Possible, Power Rangers Dino Thunder, and then they'd have like Sweet Life of Zack and Cody or Hannah Montana or Cory in the House or uh dang, what were all the... There was like a bazillion of these like tween sitcoms. They made tons of them, and they were super popular. So I'm thinking Disney probably wanted the setting to be firmly in a high school. So I don't know if that had anything to do with them deciding that it needs to be set in the present day. It can't be in the future. You can't even like pretend like it's in the future. Also, Jason Frank obviously doesn't really look that old in the show. So yeah, just change it to he's a teacher now in the present day. It's not the future, or at least not the far distant future. But then there's still weird little things where, was it Elsa says, "Aren't you a little old for this?" And he's like, "I may be old, but I can still pull it off." Like, I think he's younger than I am right now when he was in Dino Thunder. And the last thing I want to talk about is the weird meta humor that Dino Thunder has. Some fans really like the humor in Dino Thunder. They really appreciate the little meta-textual things, like the self-referential jokes. Like in a few episodes ago, when Connor was talking to Dr. O about he wants to leave the team, Dr. O tells him to think about it, and Connor leaves, and Ethan says, "I thought the red guy was supposed to be the leader." Like, some fans really love that. And I'm just kind of confused by it because for me, humor is kind of weird, especially in a show like like Power Rangers. Humor comes off pretty weird because like some episodes of Power Rangers, they're clearly jokes from the beginning. Like there's gags that work in some episodes that will definitely not work in other episodes. And then there's like moments like in Dino Thunder where like somebody said that it has a serious tone, and like that's one of the problems though that I have with Dino Thunder. Like maybe if they had embraced more comedy, being like self-referential and goofy, maybe the humor would have worked a little better. But as it is, the show is trying to be funny, but at the same time trying to be serious, and I don't think they mesh well. The thing that really stands out is that joke at the end when Tommy says he has to buy more black clothes. In context of the universe in this episode, what's so funny about that? Are the other Rangers unaware that they also, like, wear corresponding Ranger colors in their normal day-to-day lives? Uh, it's, and it's, I don't get it. It's so weird. Like, everybody laughs so much at that. Like, it's the funniest thing ever, and it's not. Like, even if this was, like, a new observation they were making, it's not that funny. And it doesn't even make sense in context. Like, okay, so you guys are aware that you wear your Ranger colors. Are you going to stop now? What? I, Again, I don't understand what the context is here. What makes it funny? There's no joke here. He's just saying a thing and then they laugh. I think a better way for this to work is if Tommy says it, and then instead of everybody else laughing their heads off, have them all roll their eyes and go, ugh, like it's the dumb joke it is. I think that would work a lot better. It's similar to TJ in Forever Red at the end of the episode when all the Rangers are talking, and he says, "Hey, did I ever tell you guys about the time I got baked into that giant pizza?" And everybody else responds with, "Yes." See, the humor comes from the implication that he's told the story enough for it to become repetitive, and also that it actually happened. It's a goofy situation that actually happened. If the scene had played out with him asking to tell the story and everyone cracks up laughing, like at the end of this episode, the joke wouldn't have landed at all. It would have just been, hey, remember this thing? Ha 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 ha. I don't know. Am I just thinking way too deep about? I probably am. Of course, it's the whole point of the show to think too deep about things. So yeah, this episode, I'm not liking Dino Thunder since the premiere. The first two episodes, I still really like. I think they're really strong episodes. And in the past, what made me not like them is what came afterwards. The third episode is just kind of a bland episode. Legacy of Power, I don't like. This episode has been just kind of weak. Like Tommy's become a ranger again, and it doesn't feel important at all. It just feels like, yep, this is a thing that happened. It doesn't feel like a big moment or anything. It's just it happens. It's immediately glanced over, and then to cap it off, we have them making a joke about him wearing black. Oh, hey, I'm wearing the same thing he wears later in the show. Isn't that depressing? Anyway, that's Back in Black. I don't care for it. Hopefully, maybe the next episode will pick up a bit. That's it for this one. See ya.